My name is Olivia Davidson, and what I'm about to share with you changed my life forever. On March 15th, 2023, I didn't just have a brush with death, I actually died for 15 minutes. During that time, Jesus Christ himself revealed to me profound truths about the divine purpose and spiritual heritage of Black people that I was commanded to share with the world. What I learned will shake you to your core. But before I tell you about these incredible revelations, I need you to understand how I got there. I was driving to my local church for our weekly prayer meeting. As a devout Christian and regular church attendee for over 30 years, I had always felt a deep connection to my faith, though I sometimes struggled with questions about racial identity and spirituality that seemed to have no clear answers. That evening was particularly cold, with a light drizzle making the roads slick. I remember checking my watch. It was 6:45 p.m., and I was running a bit late. Sister Martha had asked me to lead the opening prayer, and I didn't want to disappoint her. As I approached the intersection of Maple and Oak Street, everything changed in an instant. A truck ran a red light, and despite my attempts to swerve, there was no avoiding the collision. The impact was devastating. The sound of metal crushing against metal, the shattering of glass, and then silence. Complete and utter silence. In that moment, I felt myself floating, as if being gently lifted from my body. The pain disappeared, and a profound sense of peace washed over me. When I opened my spiritual eyes, I found myself in a place that defies earthly description. It wasn't quite a room, but rather an expanse of pure, radiant light that seemed to stretch infinitely in all directions. The light wasn't harsh or blinding. Instead, it carried a warmth that penetrated to the very depths of my soul. And there, standing before me in glory that no words could adequately capture, was Jesus Christ himself. His presence was overwhelming, not in a frightening way, but in a way that filled me with complete awe and perfect love. His appearance was both familiar and transcendent, with eyes that held the wisdom of eternity and a smile that conveyed infinite compassion. "Welcome, Olivia," he spoke, his voice resonating with authority and gentleness simultaneously. "There are truths you need to know, truths that have been hidden and distorted for far too long." I felt tears streaming down my spiritual face as he approached me. The love emanating from his presence was unlike anything I had ever experienced in my earthly life. It was pure, unconditional, and all-encompassing. "My child," he continued, "you have carried many burdens and questions about your people, about their place in my divine plan. Today, I will show you truths that will set many free from the chains of misunderstanding and prejudice." Jesus then began to reveal to me the true spiritual heritage of Black people, starting from the very beginning of human history. What he showed me was far different from the narratives I had heard throughout my life, even in many Christian circles. "The curse of Ham," he said, reading the question in my heart before I could voice it, "has been one of the greatest misinterpretations of my word. It has been used to justify unspeakable cruelty and oppression, but it was never my intention." He showed me visions of the ancient world, of Ham and his descendants. I saw mighty kingdoms rising in Africa, peoples who carried deep spiritual wisdom and understanding. The images were vivid and clear, great civilizations flourishing under divine blessing, not curse. "Look closely," Jesus instructed, and I saw the true meaning of the events described in Genesis. The curse pronounced by Noah was specific to Canaan, not a blanket condemnation of all Ham's descendants. It was never about skin color or race. It was about specific spiritual choices and their consequences. Your ancestors, Jesus continued, were among the first to recognize the divine in creation. They understood sacred truths that many others would take centuries to grasp. Their spiritual sensitivity was not a curse, but a blessing, a gift that has been misunderstood and feared by those who couldn't comprehend its depth. I watched in amazement as he showed me ancient African spiritual practices, not as the primitive rituals they had often been portrayed as, but as sophisticated expressions of divine understanding. I saw how these practices, when pure and uncorrupted, reflected deep spiritual truths that aligned perfectly with God's Word. The ability to see the sacred in all of creation, Jesus explained, to understand the interconnectedness of all things under my authority. This was a special gift given to your ancestors. They knew that every part of creation sang my praise, that every element could be used to glorify my name. He showed me how this spiritual sensitivity had been passed down through generations, manifesting even through the darkest periods of history. Even during slavery, this divine connection couldn't be broken. It transformed into the soulful spirituals that carried both lamentation and hope, the prayers that moved mountains, and the unshakable faith that sustained millions through unimaginable hardship. Watch, Jesus said, and before my eyes unfolded scenes from history I had never seen in any textbook. I saw ancient African kingdoms where wisdom and spiritual understanding flourished. I saw leaders and priests who walked in deep communion with God, their prayers and prophecies shaping the course of nations. These were not primitive peoples practicing superstition, Jesus explained. They were philosophers, theologians, and mystics who understood fundamental truths about my nature and my creation. Their wisdom was sought by rulers from distant lands, including those mentioned in your scriptures. He showed me how the Queen of Sheba, who visited Solomon, came from a long line of African rulers who pursued divine wisdom. Her journey wasn't just about witnessing Solomon's wealth and wisdom. It was a meeting of two great spiritual traditions, both blessed by God. Your people, Jesus continued, were among the first to understand the principle of communal worship, that when 2 or 3 gather in my name, there I am in the midst of them. They knew the power of collective prayer and praise long before it was written in the New Testament. I saw how this understanding had been preserved, even through the Middle Passage and slavery. The secret prayer meetings in the woods, the coded spirituals, the ring shouts, all of these were more than just ways to cope with oppression. They were expressions of deep spiritual wisdom, maintaining connection with divine truth despite attempts to suppress it. The strength of your people, Jesus said, comes from this unbroken spiritual lineage. Even when they were forcibly converted to various forms of Christianity, they didn't simply adopt a new faith. They recognized the truth in it because it resonated with the spiritual wisdom they already possessed. He showed me how Black spirituality had always emphasized the personal experience of the divine, the importance of direct communion with God, and the understanding that spiritual truth must be lived, not just believed. These weren't departures from true Christianity, but expressions of its deepest truths. Your ancestors, Jesus explained, understood that true worship isn't confined to buildings or limited to certain days. They knew that every breath could be a prayer, every action could be an offering, every moment could be sacred. This is what I taught during my earthly ministry, but many have forgotten. I saw how this understanding had influenced Black churches throughout history. The emphasis on experiencing God's presence, the importance of testimony, the understanding that worship should engage the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. This is not emotional excess, Jesus said, addressing a criticism I had often heard. This is worship in spirit and in truth. Your people have preserved this understanding when many others have lost it in empty ritualism. He showed me how the Black church's emphasis on social justice and community care wasn't a modern development or a departure from spiritual focus. It was a continuation of ancient African understanding that spiritual truth must be expressed in practical action. When your ancestors fed the hungry, clothed the naked, and fought for justice, Jesus said, they weren't just following my commands. They were expressing their deep understanding that love for God cannot be separated from love for neighbor. Then Jesus showed me something that brought me to my knees, the true spiritual significance of Black suffering throughout history. It wasn't punishment or curse, as some had claimed. It was a profound mystery of divine purpose. Your people's suffering, Jesus said with deep emotion, has been like my own suffering on the cross. Not because it was deserved, but because through it, a greater purpose is being worked out. Through their suffering, your people have learned and demonstrated the power of forgiveness, the strength of faith, and the triumph of love over hate. I saw how the Black experience of suffering and survival, of maintaining faith and humanity in the face of dehumanization, had created a unique testimony to God's faithfulness and power. The spiritual songs born in slavery, the prayers whispered in darkness, the hope maintained against all odds. These weren't just coping mechanisms. They were profound expressions of spiritual truth. Your people's history, Jesus explained, is a living testament to my power to bring life from death, hope from despair, and victory from defeat. This is why your spiritual songs and testimonies have touched hearts across the world. They carry this deep truth. He showed me how Black resilience in the face of oppression wasn't just human determination, but a manifestation of divine power, the same power that raised Christ from the dead, working in and through a people who refused to be defeated by death-dealing forces. The strength of your people, Jesus said, comes from this deep understanding that no matter how dark the night, my light cannot be extinguished. This is why your people could sing about victory even in chains, could praise even in persecution, could love even in the face of hate. Then Jesus revealed something that made my spirit tremble: the special role of Black people in the end times and the coming kingdom of God. Your people's preservation through history, he said, has been for a purpose. The wisdom they have gained through suffering, their understanding of spiritual warfare, their experience of maintaining faith under pressure, these will be crucial in the times ahead. I saw visions of a future where the deep spiritual wisdom preserved in Black culture would be crucial for helping all of humanity navigate through dark times. The understanding of how to maintain faith under pressure, how to resist dehumanization, how to find joy in sorrow. These would be needed by everyone. The day is coming, Jesus said, when the wisdom of your people will be recognized and sought out. The understanding they have preserved of how to see my hand even in suffering, how to maintain dignity in the face of degradation, how to forgive enemies and love in the face of hate. This wisdom will help light the way for many. He showed me how the Black experience of maintaining identity and faith under pressure had created a template for spiritual resistance that would be needed in the future. The lessons learned through centuries of struggle would become guidance for others facing similar challenges. Your people's story, Jesus explained, is not just about the past, it's about the future. The wisdom gained through their journey will help prepare my church for the challenges ahead. Their experience of recognizing and resisting dehumanizing systems while maintaining love and faith will be crucial. I saw how the Black Church's tradition of prophetic witness, speaking truth to power while maintaining love for enemies, would become increasingly important. The ability to distinguish between systems of oppression and the individuals caught in them, to fight injustice while praying for oppressors, would be vital wisdom for the times ahead. The spiritual maturity developed through your people's journey, Jesus said, will help guide my church through the challenges of the end times. Their experience of maintaining faith when everything seems to contradict it, of finding joy in the midst of sorrow, of seeing my hand even in the darkest circumstances. These will be crucial lessons for all believers. He showed me how the Black understanding of spiritual warfare, not just as an individual battle, but as a struggle against systemic evil, would help the church recognize and resist the deceptive systems of the end times. Your people have learned, Jesus explained, how to recognize oppressive systems while maintaining love for individuals caught in them. This wisdom will be crucial as my church faces increasing pressure to conform to worldly systems. Then Jesus showed me something that filled me with awe: the special honor that would be given to Black believers in the coming kingdom. Those who have been last will be first, he said, not as revenge or mere reversal, but because through their suffering they have developed spiritual qualities that reflect my own character: forgiveness, perseverance, joy in suffering, love for enemies. I saw how the Black experience of maintaining dignity and humanity in the face of dehumanization had created a unique reflection of Christ's own character, his ability to maintain divine love even while being rejected and crucified. Your people's journey, Jesus said, has been a path of transformation into my image through suffering, not because suffering itself is good, but because through it they have learned to trust me at levels many others haven't had to reach. He showed me how this deep trust, this ability to praise in the midnight hour, this determination to love even when hate would be easier, these qualities would shine with special brightness in the kingdom. The day is coming, Jesus said, when the true spiritual heritage of your people will be fully revealed and honored. The wisdom they have preserved, the faith they have maintained, the love they have demonstrated, these will be recognized as crucial pieces of my kingdom's pattern. As my time with Jesus drew to a close, he gave me a final message, one that he commanded me to share with the world. Tell them, he said with intense love and authority, that the time of misunderstanding and distortion is ending. Tell them that Black people's spiritual heritage is not a curse, but a blessing, not a shame, but a glory, not a burden, but a gift to all humanity. He continued, tell them that the strength they have demonstrated, the wisdom they have preserved, the love they have maintained, even in the face of hate. These are not just human achievements, but divine gifts, manifesting my power and character in unique ways. Tell them, Jesus said, his voice filled with both authority and tenderness, that I am calling forth the full spiritual power and wisdom that I placed within Black people. The time has come for this light to shine fully, for this wisdom to be recognized, for this strength to be celebrated. As I felt myself being drawn back to my body, Jesus gave me one final word. Remember, Olivia, you didn't see these things just for yourself. You must share what you've witnessed. Many are ready to hear these truths now. The time of awakening has come. I awoke in the hospital, surrounded by beeping machines and concerned faces. The doctors told me I had been clinically dead for 15 minutes. They called my survival a medical miracle, but I knew it was much more than that. I had been given a divine appointment, a holy mandate, to share these truths with the world. What Jesus revealed to me about Black people's true spiritual heritage and destiny has changed my life forever. It has given me a new understanding of our history, our suffering, and our purpose in God's plan. Most importantly, it has shown me that what many have seen as a curse was actually a blessing in disguise, a divine preparation for a special role in God's kingdom. I share this testimony not to promote division or superiority, but to bring healing and restoration. These truths are not just for Black people. They are for everyone who seeks to understand God's ways more deeply. They reveal how God can use what the world sees as weakness to display his strength, how he can turn suffering into glory, and how he has preserved crucial spiritual wisdom through a people many tried to destroy. If you're watching this, know that these revelations aren't just about the past. They're about the present and the future. They're about recognizing and celebrating the divine wisdom and strength that God has preserved through Black people's journey. They're about understanding how this wisdom and strength will be crucial for all believers in the times ahead. Most importantly, these revelations are about hope. Hope that God has not forgotten his people, that he has a purpose for every tear and every struggle, and that he is bringing forth something beautiful from even the darkest chapters of history. Let these truths sink deep into your heart. Let them challenge your preconceptions and expand your understanding. Let them bring healing to ancient wounds and hope for the future. For in understanding these truths, we all come closer to understanding the heart of God and his amazing plan for all his children.